I stood nervously at the altar, surrounded by 200 guests awaiting my bride Amanda. Family and friends smiled expectantly. The wedding planner rushed in, whispered something urgent to my best man, who then passed me my phone. A text message appeared. "Cannot marry you. You are too average for me. I am too young to settle for this life." My world collapsed in an instant. Before continuing, I would love to know where you are watching from today. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of storytellers. My name is Peter, a 32-year-old software engineer from Seattle. I live a stable life with a comfortable career and modest lifestyle. Nothing extraordinary, but I always thought it was enough. I met Amanda, a 28-year-old marketing executive, at a friend's dinner party 3 years ago. She stood out immediately with her vibrant personality and infectious laugh that seemed to light up the room. Our romance was a whirlwind. We spent weekends taking spontaneous road trips up the Pacific coast, hiking through lush forests and attending indie film festivals. Amanda was adventurous, always pushing me outside my comfort zone in ways that made life exciting. When she suggested moving in together after our first anniversary, I had some reservations. I noticed her expensive taste in clothes, restaurants, and home decor, but her enthusiasm for building a life together overshadowed those concerns. The first year of living together was blissful. We established routines, decorated our apartment, and talked about future plans. But gradually, Amanda began showing dissatisfaction with what she called our ordinary life. Despite our comfortable combined income that allowed us occasional luxuries, she would scroll through social media for hours following influencers who showcased extravagant lifestyles. "Do you ever think we could live like this?" she asked one evening, showing me photos of a travel influencer couple on a private yacht in the Mediterranean. I laughed it off, saying we had different priorities, but the disappointment in her eyes lingered. When I proposed, I had saved for 6 months to afford the specific diamond ring Amanda had hinted at wanting. I planned a private dinner at an upscale restaurant overlooking Puget Sound, getting down on one knee as the sun set over the water. She squealed with delight, immediately taking photos of the ring for social media before I had even stood up from my kneeling position. Wedding planning brought out a side of Amanda I had never fully seen before. What started as reasonable discussions about venues and guest lists quickly escalated into demands for exotic flower arrangements, custom designer dresses, and a destination reception that would look amazing online. The original budget of $20,000 quickly ballooned to $60,000. I took on extra freelance projects on weekends to accommodate her vision, telling myself it was worth it to make her happy. The first major red flag appeared during a dinner with my parents, who had worked middle-class jobs their entire lives. Amanda made dismissive comments about their modest home and my mother's homemade lasagna. "I guess simple tastes run in the family," she remarked with a laugh that only I recognized as condescending. My parents exchanged concerned glances, but said nothing. My best friend Jake voiced concerns after meeting Amanda for drinks one night. "She seems different from when you first started dating," he said carefully. All she talked about was which celebrities were at the restaurant and how her engagement photos got more likes than her college roommates. I defended her, attributing her behavior to wedding planning stress. "Once things settle down, she will go back to normal," I assured him and myself. But the warning signs continued. Amanda began criticizing my wardrobe, suggesting I needed to upgrade to more expensive brands. She complained about our apartment, saying it was too small for entertaining the right people. Each comment chipped away at my confidence, but I interpreted her dissatisfaction as motivation for us to grow together. The night before our wedding, during the rehearsal dinner, Amanda seemed unusually distant. She spent most of the evening talking with her bridesmaids, barely acknowledging my out-of-town relatives who had traveled across the country to attend. When I finally got a moment alone with her, I asked if everything was okay. "Just wedding jitters," she said with a tight smile. "Everything will be perfect tomorrow." I squeezed her hand and told her how excited I was to build our future together. She nodded and quickly excused herself to take a phone call. That was our last real conversation. The morning of our wedding day, I woke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness that I assumed was normal for any groom. My groomsmen arrived at my hotel suite with coffee and breakfast, helping me prepare for the biggest day of my life. We laughed, shared stories, and they gave me well-meaning advice about married life while I got dressed in my tuxedo. I texted Amanda throughout the morning, receiving brief but seemingly normal responses until about 2 hours before the ceremony, when she stopped answering altogether. I figured she was busy getting her hair and makeup done with her bridesmaids, too occupied with final preparations to check her phone. The venue looked magnificent when I arrived 90 minutes early. String lights twinkled above the outdoor garden where the ceremony would take place. White roses and lilies adorned every surface, exactly as Amanda had specified. I greeted guests as they arrived, including my elderly grandparents, who had made the long journey from Minnesota despite their health issues. "We would not miss this for the world, Peter," my grandmother said, squeezing my hand. "Amanda is a lucky girl." I noticed Amanda's bridesmaids huddled in a corner whispering among themselves. When they saw me approaching, they quickly dispersed, avoiding eye contact. A knot formed in my stomach, but I dismissed it as imagination. As the scheduled start time approached, the wedding coordinator grew increasingly anxious, checking her watch and phone repeatedly. "Have you heard from Amanda?" she asked, trying to mask her concern with a professional smile. "Not recently," I admitted, checking my phone for the 20th time. Traffic might be bad from the hotel. 40 minutes passed beyond our scheduled start time. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. My best man Jake kept reassuring everyone there was a minor delay with the bridal party. I stood at the altar sweating despite the mild temperature, making weak jokes about Amanda's flair for dramatic entrances. Then my phone vibrated in Jake's pocket, where he had been keeping it for me. He glanced at the screen and his face fell. Without a word, he handed me the phone, turning his body to shield me from the curious eyes of our guests. The text message appeared exactly 5 minutes before what should have been our ceremony. "Cannot marry you. You are too average for me. I am too young to settle for this life. I deserve more excitement than what you can provide. Do not try to contact me." The words blurred as I read them again, unable to process their meaning. My hands trembled so violently, I nearly dropped the phone. Jake grabbed my elbow, steadying me, and guided me to a side room away from the crowd. "This has to be a mistake," I whispered, feeling as though I had been punched in the stomach. Maybe someone stole her phone. Maybe she is hurt somewhere. But even as I spoke, notifications began flooding my phone. A mutual friend sent a screenshot of Amanda's Instagram story showing her at the airport terminal. Another message came from one of Amanda's bridesmaids who could not meet my eyes earlier. "I am so sorry, Peter. She has been texting with Brad for months." Brad, her wealthy ex-boyfriend who worked in finance in New York. The one she had assured me was ancient history. The bridesmaid's next text confirmed my worst fears. She took an Uber to the airport an hour ago. She is flying to Cabo with him. She planned this weeks ago. The room spun around me. All the money, all the planning, all the promises we had made to each other evaporated in an instant. 200 guests waited outside, unaware that there would be no bride walking down the aisle today. "What do I do now?" I asked. No one in particular, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. I sat alone in that side room for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. My father found me there, sitting with my head in my hands. Without a word, he sat beside me, his solid presence offering comfort no words could provide. "You have 2 choices, son," he finally said. "You can hide in here and let the wedding planner make an announcement, or you can walk out there and face it head on." "How am I supposed to face 200 people who came to see me get married?" I asked, my voice breaking. My father looked me straight in the eyes, with dignity, something she clearly knows nothing about. Those words cut through my fog of humiliation and pain. I thought about my grandparents who had traveled despite their health issues, about friends who had flown in from across the country. They deserved better than a second-hand announcement from a wedding planner. "I will tell them myself," I decided, standing up on shaky legs. Walking back toward the ceremony space felt like the longest journey of my life. 200 faces turned toward me, expectantly, some smiling, others looking concerned at the delay. The string quartet stopped playing mid-song. The silence was deafening. I approached the microphone set up for our vows, took a deep breath, and decided the truth was the only option. "I appreciate everyone being here today." I began, my voice steadier than I expected. I need to inform you that Amanda will not be joining us. 5 minutes ago, she sent me a text message that I think you all deserve to hear." I pulled out my phone and read her exact words aloud. "Cannot marry you. You are too average for me. I am too young to settle for this life. I deserve more excitement than what you can provide. Do not try to contact me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." I saw Amanda's mother cover her face with her hands. I just learned she left for the airport an hour ago to meet her ex-boyfriend. I continued, surprised by my own calm. While this is obviously not how I envisioned this day, I refused to slink away in shame for being what she called too average. What happened next shocked me. Someone in the back started applauding, then another person joined in. Suddenly, the entire gathering erupted in supportive applause. My cousin shouted, "Her loss, Peter," which elicited even more cheers. Standing straighter, I made a spontaneous decision. We have paid for a beautiful venue and reception. The food is prepared, the bar is stocked, and the band is ready. I see no reason to waste it. I would like to invite all of you to join me in what is no longer a wedding, but instead a celebration of honesty and new beginnings. The transition from wedding to impromptu party happened with surprising ease. The wedding planner, recovering from her shock, quickly directed staff to remove ceremonial elements. The string quartet switched to more upbeat music. Guests lined up to offer words of support, and in many cases, share their own relationship disaster stories. My first fiancé ran off with my maid of honor, an elderly aunt, told me, patting my arm. "Best thing that ever happened to me." I met Harold a year later. She gestured to her husband of 40 years, who nodded sagely. Amanda's parents found me at the bar, her father looking shell-shocked and her mother in tears. "We do not know what to say," her father stammered. "We had no idea she would do something so callous. We are so deeply sorry," her mother added, genuine remorse in her eyes. I assured them I did not hold them responsible for their daughter's actions, though the conversation was undeniably awkward. As the day progressed, I made another decision. "The catering cost $15,000, I told Jake. "Find out if we can donate the extra food to the downtown shelter." While guests enjoyed the reception, I wandered into the bridal suite where Amanda had been scheduled to prepare. Her wedding dress hung abandoned in the closet, her makeup scattered across the vanity. She had apparently packed a separate bag for her escape, leaving behind everything associated with our wedding. Jake documented everything with photos, suggesting we might need evidence for potential legal action regarding our shared expenses and apartment lease. "She cannot just walk away from financial responsibilities," he pointed out pragmatically. By the end of the night, exhaustion overtook me. As guests departed with sympathetic hugs and words of encouragement, the reality of my situation settled in. I recognized all the red flags I had ignored over the past year, the gradual shift in Amanda's behavior that I had attributed to wedding stress rather than fundamental character flaws. I spent that night alone in the honeymoon suite I had already paid for, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship. Amid the pain and humiliation, I felt an unexpected sensation relief, as if some part of me had known all along that Amanda and I were fundamentally incompatible, that I had been twisting myself into someone I was not to meet her, escalating expectations. I woke the next morning to my phone buzzing incessantly with notifications. Someone at the wedding had posted about the incident on social media, and my story had gone viral. "Jilted groom's classy response to altar abandonment," read one headline. Strangers were sharing my story, commending my handling of the situation. Amanda had noticed too. She began posting edited screenshots of our conversations, trying to paint me as controlling and herself as escaping an unhealthy relationship. Few people believed her narrative, especially those who had witnessed our relationship firsthand. The next few weeks brought practical challenges. Amanda and I had shared an apartment, bank accounts, and numerous expenses. She initially refused to communicate, except through increasingly hostile text messages, necessitating legal intervention. I hired a lawyer to address the apartment lease she had abandoned, and the joint credit card she had maxed out before leaving. I could not bear to remain in Seattle, where sympathetic glances followed me everywhere. 3 weeks after the non-wedding, I accepted a job offer in Portland that I had previously declined due to Amanda's reluctance to leave her position. The fresh start felt necessary for my sanity. Those first few weeks in Portland were the darkest of my life. I moved into a sparsely furnished studio apartment and spent evenings questioning my self-worth. If I was too average for Amanda, perhaps I was too average for anyone. Maybe I was destined to be alone, never quite exciting enough to hold someone's interest long-term. My turning point came unexpectedly through an online forum where people shared stories of relationship betrayals. Reading others' experiences helped me understand that Amanda's actions reflected her character, not my worth. I began responding to posts offering support to those newer to the heartbreak process. Helping others somehow helped me heal myself. 6 months after the wedding that never was my professional life took a positive turn. My new company recognized my dedication and promoted me to lead a development team, a position with greater responsibility and creative input than I had ever had in Seattle. The confidence this gave me spilled into my personal life. I rediscovered passions Amanda had subtly discouraged as boring or not Instagram-worthy. I joined a photography club that took weekend trips to capture Oregon's natural beauty. I started volunteering at a community center, teaching basic computer skills to seniors finding unexpected joy in their gratitude and friendship. My apartment gradually transformed from a temporary shelter to a home that reflected my true tastes, not the luxury aesthetic Amanda had pushed. I hung my own photographs on the walls, bought comfortable furniture that prioritized function over appearance, and created a space where I felt genuinely at ease. Then came Jasmine. I met her at a local gallery where my photography club was exhibiting our work. She was a professional photographer whose thoughtful questions about my landscape shots led to a conversation that stretched late into the evening. Unlike Amanda, who had always seemed to be performing for an invisible audience, Jasmine was authentically present, genuinely interested in my thoughts and experiences. Our relationship developed slowly and naturally. She appreciated the quiet moments Amanda had found boring and understood the value of simple pleasures. The first time I cooked dinner for her in my apartment, I felt momentary panic, remembering Amanda's criticism of my basic cooking skills. But Jasmine's sincere enjoyment of the meal reminded me that the right person does not require grand gestures or constant entertainment. 1 year after what should have been my wedding day, I took a solitary hike in the Cascade Mountains. Standing on a ridge, overlooking a valley painted with wildflowers, I realized I had not thought about Amanda in weeks. The pain that once consumed me had faded to an occasional twinge, a lesson learned rather than a wound still bleeding. Through mutual friends, I learned that Amanda's relationship with Brad had imploded after 3 months in Cabo. His wealth had provided the extravagant lifestyle she craved, but apparently she had found him just as disappointing as she had found me, though, for different reasons. She had moved back to her parents' home, her social media presence notably subdued. 14 months after she left me at the altar, Amanda texted me out of the blue. "I have been doing a lot of thinking. I would like to meet and explain things. I think you deserve closure." I stared at the message for a long time, surprised by my own reaction. There was no anger, no desire for vindication, no urge to respond with bitterness, or even to respond at all. I realized I had moved beyond needing closure from her. Whatever explanation she offered would not change what happened or who I had become since then. I left her message unanswered, and instead focused on preparing for an upcoming photography workshop I was teaching for underprivileged teens. Helping these kids find beauty in everyday moments through a camera lens had become one of my greatest joys. Watching their faces light up when they captured something meaningful reminded me that average moments often hold the most profound meaning. "Look at this, Mr. Peter," exclaimed 13-year-old Marcus, showing me a photo he had taken of morning dew on a spider web. "Is it good enough?" I smiled, recognizing, in his uncertainty, my own former need for validation. "The question is not whether it is good enough for others," I told him, "but whether it captures what you felt when you saw it. That is what makes a photograph valuable." The truth I discovered after Amanda's betrayal was that a meaningful life is not built on grand gestures or picture-perfect moments. It is found in authenticity, in being true to yourself, rather than contorting to meet others' expectations. True connections come not from being extraordinary but from being genuinely yourself and finding those who value that authenticity. I now understand that being called too average by someone obsessed with appearances was actually a compliment. My ordinary life is filled with genuine connections, meaningful work, and moments of quiet joy that no Instagram filter could enhance. I would not trade this authentic happiness for all the exotic vacations and luxury brands that Amanda chased. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after someone made you question your worth? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember that your value is not determined by those who cannot appreciate it. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more reflections on life's unexpected turns. Share this with someone who might need to be reminded that sometimes the most beautiful path forward emerges from our greatest disappointments. Thank you for listening, and remember, being true to yourself is never average. It is extraordinary.